Salvation of the world depends on me. Salvation of the world depends on you. Welcome back, fam. Today we are going to be studying lesson 186 of A Course in Miracles, and we are going to dive straight in. So go ahead and pull up to the lesson if you're not there already. And if you don't got the book yet, the PDF is in the description. Let's go ahead and begin. Lesson 186, Salvation of the world depends on me. Here is the statement that will one day take all arrogance away from every mind. Here is the thought of true humility, which holds no function as your own, but that which has been given you. It offers your acceptance of a part assigned to you without insisting on another role. It does not judge your proper role. It but acknowledges the will of God is done on earth as well as heaven. It unites all wills on earth in heaven's plan to save the world, restoring it to heaven's peace. Let us not fight our function. We did not establish it. It is not our idea. The means are given us by which it will be perfectly accomplished. All that we are asked to do is to accept our part in genuine humility and not deny with self-deceiving arrogance that we are worthy. What is given us to do, we have the strength to do. Our minds are suited perfectly to take the part assigned to us by one who knows us well. Today's idea may seem quite sobering until you see its meaning. All it says is that your Father still remembers you and offers you the perfect trust he holds in you who are his Son. It does not ask that you be different in any way from who you are, from what you are. What could humility request but this? And what could arrogance deny but this? Today we will not shrink from our assignment on the spacious grounds that modesty is outraged. It is pride that would deny the call for God himself. Now, we're going to press pause real quick, and we are going to really dive deep on what is being said here. And we've talked about this in one of the previous lessons, but we're going to bring it up again right now. Now, it was the lesson, I believe it's 66, but don't quote me on that. The lesson stated, I am the light of the world. Now, someone saying, I am the light of the world sounds so blasphemous compared to what other people have been told about the light of the world. In this world, it seems blasphemous to call yourself the light of the world. And now, going even further with lesson 186, salvation of the world depends on me. That seems like an even more blasphemous statement to one who doesn't know who they really are. Now, let's go ahead and discuss this and really understand that somebody could look at someone calling themselves the light of the world, and they're going to point to that person and say, you're arrogant. That is blasphemous. That is wrong of you to call yourself that, because who do you think you are to be calling yourself that? And what's really arrogant here is the individual who doesn't see themselves as God created them. Remember, God is love and light, and God creates through extending his being. That is how creation is accomplished, through extension of who you are, meaning God is love, light, eternal, infinite, omnipresent, joy, happiness, peace, etc. Whatever attribute that you would like to give to God. Therefore, God created you like himself, and you cannot be anything other than that. Meaning, if you believe that you are the light of the world, you are light, you are love, you are as God created you, then you would be in your right mind to think that. And anybody who is believing that they are something other than what God created is the arrogant one here, because they believe that they can make something other than what God made or created, and be this tiny little self image, this body with these successes and these failures and these so called sins and these mistakes that cannot be forgiven and these wrongdoings in their past and all of this little tiny self image that they have made and conceived in their mind over the span of the time being in that body. And they think that that tiny little insignificant self image is who they really are genuinely, and it's because they believe that they are what they are not. So to see someone embodying what God created feels like an attack upon that person, because remember, anybody identified with the ego looks for any shred of their brother's guilt, any shred of their brother's wrongdoing in the world, so that way the ego feels a little bit better because it's saying, oh, there's another person who's guilty over there, which justifies the guilt that I believe I've done in the past, therefore they're guilty too. And they need that little fix, they need that fix, and whenever that fades away, they need to look for another shred of evidence somewhere else. And people go their whole lives looking for little shreds of evidence and judging their brothers, judging everyone in this world and everything in this world, because it makes them feel good, because they don't know who they are. They think that they're the ego, and the ego loves to see guilt and fear and judgment in others because it justifies why they are the way they think they are. They love to see any shred of fear outside of themselves because it perpetuates the belief of who they think they are. So to see someone calling themselves the light of the world seems arrogant, it seems blasphemous, and they need to be hammered and nailed to a cross and be put to death. That's exactly what happened with Jesus. Jesus knew who he was, and he was embodying who God created. God created him as the light of the world, and he knew that and remembered that, and he was being that, and he was teaching others that that is who they are as well. And they were not listening to his words because remember, they were the ego identification at that point in time, and they were looking for any shred of guilt in Jesus at that time. And remember, whatever you see in another individual is simply a projection of your own internal beliefs about yourself. Meaning, these people who looked for shreds of guilt and wrongdoing in Jesus, they found it, but only because they projected it there. So of course you're going to see what you project. Now, if they were not projecting their own worries and doubts and fears and illusions, and they were pure as God created them as well, they would see Jesus as he really was, which was the light of the world, but no less than they were. The only reason why they couldn't see that in him was because they've distorted one of God's creation by projecting something other than love. They projected their own sense of separation, worry, doubt, and fear and insignificance, and seen it out there to justify that they are who they think that they are, and that is just furthest from the truth. So right now we have to understand that whenever me and you are saying that we are the salvation of the world depends on us, that is a statement of truth, and we are no more important or special or on a pedestal than anyone else. This is God's will, and this is an intention that we all share here. And there is only a few of us who have remembered that and came to that realization, and there are others who see people who have remembered that, but they don't remember who they are at that moment in time. And remember, the ego loves, again, shreds of evidence of guilt because it justifies why they think who they think that they are. Now, whenever you see the opposite of who you think you are, meaning this person is identified with the ego, with fear, they think that they are this tiny little insignificant body and self that they have made, that God did not make, that they made, they think that this is who they are. Whenever they see that in someone else, they feel good. Whew, I'm who I am. That's another check mark for me that this is who I am. And they're trying to uphold this image of who they think they are, because if they don't uphold it, they're going to feel like nothing. And that's true, because the ego is nothing. So you have to let that image go in order to remember who you really are. Now, whenever you're identified with the ego and you see someone else embodying the complete opposite, which is love and light, that feels like an attack. Not because that person is attacking them, but because love is the opposite of who they think that they are. Therefore, it feels like they're being threatened because they are being posed with another individual who is embodying something completely opposite of what they think that they're embodying. Therefore, they feel attacked and they need to kill that person and put them to death. Jesus was love and light and treated everyone with love and light because he knew that that's also who they were. He treated others how he wanted to be treated. He thought about others how he would like others to think about him, and he seen everyone as they really were, as God created them. And whenever all these other individuals who were identified with the ego and the body, and they were these tiny little insignificant selves that they've made apart from God, then and they're in the presence of this person embodying the complete opposite, they're all feeling attacked. That's why they believe that Jesus was attacking them, because they're the ego, and of course love attacks fear. Now that's even too strong of a statement, because love doesn't attack at all. Love simply just is. However, if you're believing that you're the ego and you're constantly in fear, then whenever you see fear, you feel good. And it's completely backwards and opposite, but this is what's happening at any moment in time. People really love to be in fear, although they wouldn't say they would. If they really look deep down, they crave any source of fear or guilt or seeing it outside, because it justifies why they are who they think that they are. And whenever you see someone who is in love and light, it triggers you, because deep down you think that you're the ego, and seeing something that is opposite of what you think you are is challenging your entire belief system that you made. And the only reason why this belief system can be challenged is because it is not real. Truth cannot be threatened. Nothing real can be threatened, and nothing unreal exists. Meaning, if someone feels like they're being threatened, it is because they are not embodying truth. They are believing that they are something other than what God created, and therefore have to maintain that image that they made in order to make it real to them. But if they were to let that image go and be free and be love and be light, then that tiny little insignificant self would fade away into the nothingness from which it emerged, and they would be able to embody who they really were. And finally, and only then, would they be in peace and in joy. So let's remember, as we continue today's lesson, that we are simply discussing truth today. We are simply discussing who we really are. We are simply discussing who God created, and it is respectful of us to embody this role that was given to us, and to believe that we are anything less than the salvation of the world or the light of the world is to go against what God would have his son be. And think about how insane that is. You, this tiny little ego, going against the creator of all that is, love, light, your source, your father, your creator, whatever it is that you would like to call God. You are going against that, which you can't really do, but you can believe you can, and therefore cut yourself off from all your abundance, from all your vitality, your health, your resources. You could believe that you're something other than what God created, and as a result and byproduct, you are going to get cut off from all your resources, not because you were cut off by God, but because you cut yourself off because you don't know who you are, and you're thinking that you're something other than who you really are. So let's remember as well, as we continue today, that these words are being taught to us by the greatest. These words are literally being spoken to us by Jesus himself. So why not learn from the man himself instead of trying to find it out there from someone who is still identifying with the ego, thinking that it is blasphemous to make the statement that we made at the beginning of our lesson today, right? So let's go ahead and know that we are in the right hands. Let's make sure and assure to ourselves that we are in the right hands. We are being led by somebody who knows what they're talking about. We are being led by someone who is anchored in this state of mind, anchored in truth, anchored in love, and knows, with a capital K, knows everything that me and you forgot. And we are being reminded. That's simply what's going on here. So let's continue. All false humility we lay aside today, that we may listen to God's voice, reveal to us what he would have us do. We do not doubt our adequacy for the function he will offer us. We will be certain that only certain only that he knows our strengths, our wisdom, and our holiness. And if he deems us worthy, so we are. It is but arrogance that judges otherwise. There is one way, and only one, to be released from the imprisonment your plan to prove the false is true has brought to you. Wow, that was beautiful. Let's read that one more time. There is one way, and only one, to be released from the imprisonment your plan to prove the false is true has brought to you, meaning everybody who is trying to prove that the false is true is imprisoned, and we are undoing that right now. So to believe the false is true, to believe that you are anything other than what God created, is simply the reason why you are not feeling outrageous joy 24/7. And whenever you release the belief that you are something other than what God created, and you finally accept your role in salvation and understand that you are essential to God's plan for salvation, then and only then will you experience the outrageous joy 24/7 and never leave that, because that is what you experience whenever you know who you really are. And whenever you're not experiencing outrageous joy or happiness or love or peace at any moment in time, it is because you are trying to prove the false as true, which you can never do, by the way. Accept the plan you did not make instead. Judge not your value to it. If God's voice assures you that salvation needs your part and that the whole depends on you, be sure that it is so. The arrogant must cling to words, afraid to go beyond them to experience which might affront their stance. Beautiful sentence. Yet are the humble free to hear the voice which tells them that they are and what to do. What they are and what to do. Arrogance makes an image of yourself that is not real. It is this image which quells and retreats in terror as the voice for God assures you that you have the strength, the wisdom, and the holiness to go beyond all images. You are not weak, as is the image of yourself. That's powerful, because you, who you really are, who God created, is not weak. Who you really are is invulnerable. However, the image you think that you are, this body, this profession you are, these amount of friends you have or don't have, this love you have or don't have, the car you have or don't have, whatever it is that you think you are in this world, everything that your life is accumulated of, all your past experiences, and everything you've experienced in the past, and everything leading up to this moment in time, if you think that you are that worldly idea that you made at a young age and even thousands of years ago, you are simply weak, because you're the ego, and the ego is weak because the ego is nothing. It is threatened at everything that opposes it, which is everything, because love is everything. Meaning, whenever you are in your right mind, being who God created, being who you really are, being the light of the world, being the salvation of the world, you are at peace and you are in your power. And the image that you made of yourself, that is this body, it's this many years old and grew up in this place on this planet and does this thing for a living and knows these people and has accomplished this stuff, that is a weak self-image. And whenever you let that go, you will be freer than you ever thought possible. You are not ignorant and helpless. The self you made is ignorant and helpless, but you are not. Sin cannot tarnish the truth in you, and misery can come not near the holy home of God. All this the voice for God relates to you, and as he speaks, the image trembles and seeks to attack the threat it does not know, sensing its basic crumble. Let it go. Salvation of the world depends on you and not upon this little pile of dust. Oh my goodness. One more time, because that was funny. Salvation of the world depends on you and not upon this little pile of dust. What can it tell the Holy Son of God? Why need he be concerned with it at all? And so we find our peace. We will accept the function God has given us, for all illusions rest upon the weird belief that we can make another for ourselves. Our self made roles are shifting, and they seem to change from mourner to ecstatic bliss of love and loving. We can laugh or weep, and greet the day with welcome or with tears. Our very being seems to change as we experience 1,000 shifts in mood, and our emotions raise us high indeed or dash us to the ground in hopelessness. Is this the Son of God? Could he create such instability and call it Son? He who is changeless shares his attributes with his creation. All the images. I want to read this paragraph over again. Let's start from the beginning because this is just so beautiful. Is this the Son of God? Could God create such instability and call it Son? He who is changeless shares his attributes with his creation. God, who is changeless, shares his attributes with his creation. All the images his Son appears to make have no effect on what he is. That's why whenever somebody believes that they have made a mistake that cannot be forgiven, or they have so-called sinned, they are still believing that they are something that they are not, because it states right here, all the images God's Son, which is me and you and everyone here, appear to make have no effect on what he is, because what God creates is changeless, and God created me and you through extending his being. Therefore, although in this world we may do insane things as a byproduct of forgetting who we really are, whatever's done here in this world stays here. Whatever is done in this dream did not really ever occur. Whatever happens in this illusion is simply just that and will forever remain just that. Illusion, nothing, simply. And you have to remember this, because from time to time, whenever you fall asleep and you believe that you are what you are not, you're imprisoned. But whenever you remember that you are love and light and free, you will prosper. And not only will you prosper, but the entire world will prosper as a result of seeing you be who God created, reminding them that they are no different than you. They blow across his mind like wind-swept leaves that form a patterning an instant, break apart to group again, and scamper off, or like mirages seen above a desert rising from the dust. These unstable images will go and leave your mind unclouded and serene when you accept the function given you. Remember, me and you have two options. We can either accept truth or deny it. Whenever you deny truth, you're worry, doubt, fear, anger, jealous, depressed, guilty, sinful, judgmental, all of those things, which you can never really be because God did not create that, so thank God. But whenever you accept truth, you accept who you really are, and you finally throw away that tiny little image and pile of dust that you made for yourself, and you fully embody what God created, and as a byproduct, you feel the way God wills you to feel. You feel the way you will yourself to feel, which is love, light, outrageous joy, peace, serene, serendipity, all of that good stuff. So let's just remember that our emotions are letting us know at every moment in time who you are being. Do I feel good? That must mean I am being what God created. I am embodying who I really am. Do I feel anything other than peace? Am I feeling any form of upset? Okay, that's not bad. That just means that I am simply believing that I am something other than what God created, and I do not want to experience what is not really there. So let me wake up. Let me go ahead and return to truth, so that way I can experience the joyousness that is always present, always here. And the only reason why I can't experience love is not because it is not here, but because I am not where love is at. The images you make give rise to but conflicting goals. impermanent and vague, uncertain and ambiguous. Who could be constant in his efforts or direct his energies and concentrated drive towards goals like these? The functions which the world esteems are so uncertain that they change 10 times an hour at their most secure. Wow. Facts. What hope of gain can rest on goals like these? In lovely contrast, certain as the sun's return each morning to dispel the night, your truly given function stands out clear and wholly unambiguous. There is no doubt of its validity. It comes from one who knows no error, and his voice is certain of its messages. They will not change, nor be in conflict. All of them point to one goal, and one you can attain. Your plan may be impossible, but God's can never fail because He is its source. Do as God's voice directs, and if it asks a thing of you which seems impossible, remember who it is that asks, and who would make denial. Then consider this, which is most likely to be right. The voice that speaks for the Creator of all things, who knows all things exactly as they are, or a distorted image of yourself, confused, bewildered, inconsistent, and unsure of everything. Let not its voice direct you. Hear instead a certain voice which tells you of a function given you by your Creator, who remembers you and urges that you now remember Him. His gentle voice is calling from the known to the unknowing. He would comfort you, although He knows no sorrow. He would make a resolution, though He is complete, a gift to you, although He knows that you have everything already. He has thoughts which answer every need His Son perceives, although He sees them not. For love must give, and what is given in His name takes on the form most useful in a world of form. Oh my goodness, this was a powerful paragraph, definitely one worth going over on our own time again, reading it slower because there's a lot packed in there, but definitely something to keep in mind. These are the forms which never can deceive, because they come from formlessness itself. Forgiveness is an earthly form of love, which, as it is in heaven, has no form. Yet what is needed here is given here as it is needed. In this form, you can fulfill your function even here, although what love will mean to you when formlessness has been restored to you is greater still. Salvation of the world depends on you who can forgive. Such is your function here. Such is our function here. Me and you are love, are light. We are the light of the world. We are the salvation of the world, and no more or no less than anybody else here. Me and you and all of us here in this world are as God created us. There's a portion of us who are aware of that and remember, and there's a larger portion that is denying what me and you have accepted today. So let's go ahead and conclude today's lesson with that. This was a very great time to be alive. Me and you have had such a wonderful time together reading this lesson. I'm very grateful to be in your presence at this moment in time. We are going to meet here again tomorrow for lesson 187 of A Course in Miracles. And until then, may we remember who we really are.